Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 224. It's time to have a look at the markets, what they did this week, what kind of opportunities we had, and most importantly, what we can expect for the upcoming week. This week was very slow on the dollar pairs and very nice on the JPY pairs, which is of course I'm gonna reflect on this video that we really have to be looking a little bit more carefully at the economic calendar, because that can potentially determine what is going to be moving at that specific week. More details about to come throughout this video. This week I only took one very small little trade, which was a loss, and it was on Friday because I didn't trade USD pairs until Thursday CPI come out. And then on Friday, I probably tried to force something very little, but again, very little still this week warming up. And next week is going to be key because we're going to be having a lot of news. So of course, let's zone in, let's jump into the analysis and see what we could be doing. Alright, as always, we're gonna get started with a dollar, but we first of all have to have a little bit of a news outlook to see what could potentially be happening this week and which currencies are most likely going to move. So taking you to my other screen, we have a very busy week. So on Monday, bank holiday, Martin Luther King's birthday right there. I'm checking two calendars right now, just testing out, and I do see that FX Street is a lot kind of noisier. I have to scroll. While on Forex Factory is just one page, and I do like the simplicity of it, so it might be changing to Forex Factory. So on Tuesday we start with some GBP, but the highlight of Tuesday is Canadian CPI. So if you're trading the Canadian dollar, definitely watch out for that. Wednesday, GBP CPI. So if you're trading the pound starts with news on Tuesday, and then it transfers on to Wednesday as well with a CPI. So very volatile for the pound, which as we're gonna see, it's very choppy. Euro is also very choppy, and you see again on the euro we have Lagarde speaking again on Thursday as well, and yeah, pretty much Lagarde speeches this week on the euro, but we do have a lot of USD news as well. You can see here retail sales, this one right there, we have unemployment claims, which is also pretty good, not like very huge, but pretty good. And then I do believe the highlight of this week is pretty much going to be GBP USD, Euro USD, and pretty much I also see a lot of Aussies. So pretty much the major pairs that are the USD pairs, because last week we didn't have much USD news, only the Thursday CPI, so the market didn't really move on the dollar. But if you have a look at the JPYs last week, as we're going to reflect right now, they really did move. And I do believe this right now is the week in which, for example, Canadian dollar, GBP, USD, Euro, Aussie, USDs are going to start moving, because again, as you can see, every single day we have USD news, we have like pound as well, and some euro speeches throughout the way. So looks like a very volatile week ahead of us. So let's focus and of course have a very nice top-down analysis. So on the DXY, I am bearish. So I'm bearish on the dollar. We pushed up, but then we immediately flipped lower and we switched back, creating this monthly imbalance. Again, I got a little bit of a feedback that somebody liked my old way of analysis. I am just observing right now imbalances, inefficiency, fair value gaps, whatever you like to call it. It's not a big thing, but I've been studying again various sources on YouTube. You guys asked me a lot to make a video on it. I am not ready to make a video on it. I first want to build my own understanding of it and how I want to trade it before I potentially try to teach you something, right? So what I see here on the monthly is that again, we created this imbalance, fair value gap, whatever you like to call it. I am used to calling it imbalance. A lot of people call it FVG. Right, that's a little bit of a tongue twister there, but it pushed down very strongly. So I don't think that we're coming all the way up to that monthly one. All right. And right now we're starting January with a little bit of a pullback already. So right now I do believe it's a perfect time to start shifting lower. Again, anything could happen. So we should always be aware of this, because what we have right now, I still keep my old analysis so that we can actually compare what I forecasted and what is actually happening. I do believe it's going to make the analysis a little bit more interesting. So we have this weekly imbalance right there. So again, as I told you, I don't expect first to come all the way to the monthly. So there we have the weekly bearish structure as well. We tap in, rejected, but look at this week. It's an absolute crappy week. It's a perfect doji, opened exactly where... Is this actually? Yeah, this is actually it. I'm actually quite surprised. Look at that candle. Absolutely nothing. So we're not reacting bearish. We're not reacting bullish. Now, the only thing that I do not like is that we're having this little bit of a weekly imbalance right there created on the way up. And that is not very good. However, taking in mind that the monthly is bearish, the weekly is bearish in terms of structure, I will still maintain my bearish stance. Now, of course, dropping onto the daily time frame, it is absolute mess. So what is potentially going to determine what are we going to be doing next week is, as if like this doesn't look very right there. I mean, the weekly probably does not account for that. I'm really not sure. But what we should be looking for next week is for the daily time frame to start impulsing somewhere, right? We need that daily time frame to shift because, again, like you can see, I drew on the previous analysis like this hourly break from the weekly imbalance. It looked pretty good. The market reacted, tried to push, failed, pushed up, tried to push, failed, pushed up, tried to push. Like, look at this. You do not want to trade this. And for example, if you were a USD trader this week, well, you get chopped around. And especially if you try to take a couple of trades on the USD pairs, well, most likely you lost, right? So still, this is our potential week low because we're still bearish on the hourly time frame. We have a brand new indicator built on from the Fanatic team that shows a structure with our valid ranges. It's absolutely insane. I'm gonna be using it from time to time just to demonstrate it here and to get more data on that. So we're bearish. So again, I would expect further bearishness. The only thing that I see happening is if that weekly time frame with this bullish candle actually does not respect the weekly imbalance and maybe starts bearish, taps inside this, takes out the low, and then it starts reversing. But that is I don't think it's a very high probability. So what I'm essentially going to be looking on the dollar is a daily breakout. So giving it some time, I want to see the dollar starts doing something like this, starts trending, right? Having clear pushes or clear pullbacks at least, right? So no clear bias on the dollar right now. On the macro side of things, I am bearish. Again, the only question is, are we going to respond from this weekly zone and continue going higher? Or are we going to actually shift order flow to bullish and start pushing towards that monthly imbalance from where then maybe potentially, let's say February, March, or April, we can then start shifting lower. Again, that depends on the fundamentals. So let's see how that goes. CPI this week did absolutely nothing. So we're probably looking for something more. Next week, we have a lot of news. So again, guys, I don't really clearly have a bias. I'm not going to analyze the hourly time frame because there is nothing to analyze for. We have to wait. But again, bias is bearish. I just need to see a very nice bearish push on the daily or a very nice bearish push on the hourly time frame that sustains. So not just a wick out like that. This is my scenario one. I want to see a push, pullback, hold, and then potentially continuation. From there, I will get a clear bias towards this low right there and potentially this, is it the yearly low? I do think so, right? So that is the dollar. Let's wait, let's see, stay patient. All right, Euro USD is next. So once again, referring to news, in terms of Euro news next week, we just have the president of the ECB speaking, Miss Lagarde, which is definitely volatile, but we don't have like really any other news. But with all the USD news we have, then definitely Euro USD could potentially be making a move. Personally, I would much prefer to trade GU because if we have a look at the economic calendar, the GBP has a lot more news, which means that we're going to be having a lot more movement. Now, again, just a very brief outlook on the monthly time frame, similar to the Dixie. We push down, we push up. Again, we kind of make this very nice V shape right there, this very nice reversal pattern. We form this very tiny little monthly gap right there. However, I don't really think we're going to be pulling back into it because price is very far away and we really need to shift that order flow bearish in order to come all the way down there. So again, my immediate target is the monthly high and then of course this old monthly high right there. Dropping onto the weekly time frame, we do not have much to work on the weekly apart from structure. Market structure is bullish. Okay, here we're using 2 pullback candle rule, so we're still actually bearish in terms of this structure. Okay, yeah, that's tricky and it's actually correct. Like the indicator still considers from this high to this low, which is actually the case. However, I do look right now more at the most recent structure. So again, we shifted bullish, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low right now, potentially. Again, respecting overall this very recent, let's say this very recent range right there. And this week, absolutely nothing. So first of all, something that we could refer to is the previous weekly low. That could be utilized as potential liquidity in order to fuel the move higher. Apart from that, on the weekly, not seeing anything clear. And also daily, absolutely nothing clear as well. On the DXY, we did have a couple of things to play with. On EU, absolutely nothing. So EU, like since the beginning of the year, Like we just had Tuesday push down on the 2nd of January, and since then it's been chopped. Okay, so on EU, I am not touching this until it does something, right? And I have, for example, members of the community that are intraday trading this one, like based on the Asian range. And again, you can see on the hourly time frame, you could potentially start forcing it because we did have like a hourly trend change here, and then a higher low, and then a higher low, and then it broke up, right? And then you can try to take a long from here. You could do a lot of things. However, as I see it on the daily, we're just chopping around. There is no clear moves to be traded, so I pretty much pass on Euro USD. And as I said on the Dixie, wait, right? Wait for something to happen. Wait for the market to either manipulate and then start impulsing to get a clear bias. Wait for the market to either just pop up to the upside and get a clear move, or wait for the market to break lower and start going towards that monthly zone. All right, we need to see something happening before we actually start trading. So that is Euro USD, complete pass for now, waiting for moves. All right, let me bring your attention to Euro Yen right now. And again, you can see here on the weekly candle, we have a very nice bullish move on Euro USD. Just to remind you, it was a very tiny map bearish candle. Here, we do have a move, right? So right now, again, in terms of the monthly time frame, well, nothing much to work with. We're overall bullish. We did pull back. Structure is definitely bullish. You can see the indicator actually says that this is actually the valid low from low to high, pulling back. So we're definitely bullish, and this is potentially our week high. Dropping onto the weekly time frame, we don't have much to work with. So again, here we can apply just a little bit of logic. We had this massive drop to the downside that I do believe it's a liquidity grab. It came in to potentially sweep this low right there. You can see the market never closed below it. It pulled back into the imbalance, but again, reacted. Second week reacted. Third week, it should have pushed down. It didn't push down and actually came in almost an engulfing candle. So at that point in time, I do start shifting a little bit bullish, right? Now, of course, we're coming into that second imbalance, right? That could potentially be a reaction area. But again, if the current flow of the market is bullish, then this is what I would like to follow. And then, of course, dropping onto the daily time frame, what we spotted on last week's analysis is that we have this daily zone right there. And again, you can see the market on Monday, it was pretty slow. Then on Tuesday, it came in a little bit deeper. And then we had news on Wednesday, and that is when the market popped. And that was pretty much our outlook, right? Push on the daily, pull back on the daily, retesting the imbalance, targeting that daily high. And there we go. That is pretty much the trade. Then as we reach that target, again, you don't want to go even higher. And then again, you can see the market starts pulling back. We had another imbalance right there. So we're going to have a look at that. But pretty much was my outlook on Tuesday. But again, you can see on Wednesday, sorry, it didn't really get a little bit of a pullback. So again, I'm studying those. And again, you can see at first it looks good. But then as you start seeing on the market open, the market pushing away from those imbalances, then maybe it's not going to come back to retest. So you have to flow with it a little bit more on the 15-minute time frame. So now going back to the daily time frame, we have a brand new imbalance. Structure is bullish. However, it's actually not if you consider valid ranges. That is not very nice because here is the daily high to daily low. And right now the market is in a very nice corrective pullback. So that is very good to see, right? Because structure is bearish. We're pulling back right now, retesting like those hard time frame weekly areas. It's very key right now to see, okay, what actually gets respected. We're tapping inside this daily imbalance. So right now, again, the key question is, are we going to hold from this? If we do not hold from this and we start shifting bearish, then of course, first target is going to become this one. And then eventually you can start targeting these lows. But for now, I am going to remain bullish for now. But in order for us to have bullishness, I need to see the hourly time frame start shifting a little bit bullish. As you can see right now, it is bearish. We had a break of the high right there. Then we have a trend change lower. So we're trading between this high to this low. So currently the hourly time frame is bearish. However, the daily is bullish. And when you have that confusion between time frames, it's usually not very good. So yeah, that is the hourly time frame from high to low. We're filling in this daily imbalance right there, which you can see on the hourly, it's very strong. And yeah, currently the exact positioning of price, I don't really like it. We do have a very tiny little bit of an imbalance right there on the hourly time frame to work with. What I would essentially want to see is if the market is going to engulf this and potentially start forming bullish imbalances on the way up to then target this high. If the market gives us a pullback and then it starts making structure lower, then I will shift bearish. So again, guys, it's all probabilities and it's all scenarios. Again, sometimes I receive comments like, yeah, this guy just rants and it just tells you like two things that could happen. Well, Essentially, that's what it is. And if you leave comments like this, then you don't know what trading is all about, because trading is all about adapting and reacting. Again, I am actually not going to be doing you a favor if I tell you, well, the market is going to do this and then it's going to go down. Well, that is not the right way to do things, right? So that is your EM. Overall bullish on the higher time frames, but right now we're coming in with very big steam right there on Friday. So I'm really looking to see if daily zone is going to hold. If it does not, then I will eventually actually start shifting bearish, and I'm gonna let you know on Wednesday. Aussie dollar being a USD pair, not very good this week on the monthly time frame, pushing up. Right now, again, we of course have this monthly gap right there. I am not really sure if we're gonna come all the way down to fill it. We definitely could, if of course like the weekly and the daily really don't hold and don't really start kind of pushing the market back up. Here we had a weekly zone, it was engulfed, and in the opposite way, we're forming a weekly bearish zone. So not good. This suggests bearishness right now, right? Now, again, guys, currently the market is just waking up, and it's a little bit hard to frame like a very 100% bias to really show you guys this is all bullish, right? It's a little bit 50-50 because again, we're overall bullish, we're push, pull back, tapping inside this bearish candle right there. It could go higher, but on the way down, we're making this bearish imbalance while we engulf this one. We, of course, have this monthly zone to potentially tap. So there are so many confluences right there, both for the bullish side and the bearish side. And of course, if you're confused on the higher time frames, you should not really look to trade, but of course, you could refer to the lower time frames. And then myself dropping onto the daily time frame on Aussie dollar, well, being a USD pair, absolute chop. So I have no bias on this one. Then, of course, you can force it all the way to the 40 time frame, but what you're going to end up doing is like doing nothing. Again, the market was stuck within this range from this low to this high. It's still stuck in it. So you cannot really trade because you're still bullish. The market pulled back all the way down. It failed. It tries to push up. It fails again. It tries to push up. It fails again. This is not a market that you would like to trade. All right. So pretty much, once again, I don't really have a clear bias. On the USD pairs, I'm just looking for some sort of an impulse. A lot of things could happen. If we tap inside this weekly zone and we start getting 4-hourly time frame shifting lower, that is when I'm only going to be looking for shorts, right? If we start by taking out the previous weekly low and then maybe we start reversing higher, that is when I'm going to be looking for longs. If we maybe just start impulsing lower, creating bearish structure, then I'm going to be looking for shorts, right? It's all about those scenarios and about being able to adapt to the market as it develops, right? Because again, right now I could tell you, well, this is going to happen. And probably it's not going to happen. And then I'm going to look like a clown, right? And meanwhile, this is not really the way that I would like to show you personally how I trade, because it's all about the flow, all right? So Aussie dollar, no bias, letting it flow. And I'm going to let you know when it's cleaner, potentially on Wednesday. Well, not much of a week and a big candle on the Aussie JPY, but at least we actually met some sort of a target. Now, again, if you remember, we had this very nice bearish push on the JPYs that formed this very nice imbalance. The market came inside, and it's not pushing away from it. So that makes me think, okay, this maybe it's not holding. And this is just, again, thinking logically, not very mechanically. Now, on the daily time frame, we had that similar thing, right? That the daily act is actually a little bit bullish. We had this very recent daily zone. And again, on Monday, it was a kind of a dead day. It tapped in. Then on Tuesday, it came in a little bit deeper. And then, of course, we fulfilled the overall target. That is first the daily high and then this overall weekly high right there. So again, if we check the 40 time frame, I was once again kind of expecting a very deep pullback. But as the market already set up on Tuesday right there, I do believe we had the news. There is a beautiful trade exactly right there. Happened during Asia though. Then it's all about the continuations, right? It's all about the continuation. So I was actually monitoring this one. But again, as I'm still kind of learning and observing, I do observe right now that when they start forming like this very strong, then it just doesn't make sense for them to pull back a lot, right? So right now back to the daily real quick, we have that exact same situation with the Aussie, right? And actually in this case, that daily zone is already being engulfed, right? I told you on the Aussie dollar, no, that's not the Aussie dollar, that is the EJ, right? We have this daily zone that the market is coming inside. You can see on AJ, it's already engulfed, right? But again, as you can see overall, we're still chopping, right? I want to see this. I want to see clear push, clear pullback, clear push, pullback, push, right? Pushes down, not this. So again, I'm personally just very chill right now, just patiently waiting for the market to start picking up again before I potentially increase my risk and really start actually trading live. So for right now, we have this that looks like a manipulation to me a little bit. We broke up. We didn't really continue up from it. But again, still there could be something left within this daily zone right there. So I'm personally going to observe this. And then of course, if you go to the 40 time frame, the valid range is very shitty because it's from this low to this high. Let's see if the indicator gets it right. Yes, it does. But this is based on a one candle of pullback. Okay, so have to ask my developer why this is doing, because the here in this case the structure break should be here. Well, it marks it right there, but of course that is fixable. So that is not very good because we're trading all the way from this low to this high. Not ideal. But as you have a look at the overall flow of the market, it started reversing, pulled back, lower high, and right now it's very bearish as well. Having, like, if you look at imbalances, it has that very little gap, but I'm not even gonna draw this one. Okay. So when it comes to the JPYs, that is what they usually do, like big ranges and not really clear price action to trade. I am personally going to be observing how this daily zone holds, and if we have one more daily bearish candle, for example, to very strongly go all the way down there, then potentially I might start looking for shorts and targeting this low. But if we start having a very nice impulse to the upside with a nice imbalance, then of course I'm gonna start targeting this high. So there we go, two scenarios. We just have to allow the market to kind of show us what it wants to do, because we never know. I am going to be very quick with the NZD because it's another USD pair and we're having another choppy week. Now, once again, we are inside bar this week. So this is the previous weekly low. And right now, this, of course, is going to be the previous weekly low, which could potentially offer us a lot of liquidity below these areas to maybe then fuel a move higher. As you can see, the weekly imbalance actually is kind of getting engulfed. We're not really continuing higher from it. So that kind of gives me a little bit more of a bearish outlook on the majority of those pairs, but again, we don't know yet, right? So then of course, dropping onto the daily time frame, we just have this. So I cannot trade this. And as I keep telling you guys on every single USD pair, I am looking for the daily time frame to start expanding somewhere. I really don't care. I don't want to say right now it's gonna do this, it's gonna do this, or it's gonna do this. I don't know. I just want to see it expanding. I just want to see it making structure. And I just want to see it making imbalances, which essentially imbalances are showing you momentum. If there is imbalance being formed, right, then usually the market tends to go with that momentum towards like the very recent higher low, that is the liquidity. Okay, so right now we have absolutely no volume, absolutely no liquidity. It's probably building up for something. So waiting for it to exit that range, only then I'm gonna touch it. NZD JPY, again, being a JPY pair, it was a little bit more interesting. So we're having an overall bullish structure on the weekly. There is our structure break. The market pulls back, higher low formation. Yep, that is correct. Filling in this imbalance that wasn't really filled at first, but then on the way down, this is also very tricky because you really have to watch out for the very recent imbalances. Again, I'm just starting to share my knowledge. Again, it doesn't matter if you have an imbalance here that hasn't been tapped. What matters is what is forming right now. So even though we had this bullish run right there, the market came back with a bearish run. So of course, oftentimes that could be manipulation, but oftentimes that is also a shift in the potential order flow, right? So again, the market came in, it should have gone down. Then one more week, it came in, should have gone down. Again, that is the last 2 weeks of December, so very choppy. But then the first week of January shows us bullishness. So at that time I say, well, okay, we're most likely gonna go bullish, targeting this high, and then of course targeting the previous weekly high that we took this week once again on Wednesday. That was the news day, I do believe. Now again, on the daily time frame, again, bullish, respected, then it pulls back a little bit, then it pushes very nicely. So this is what I want to see on the USD pairs. Clean structure. You can see here, we had a clean push, clean imbalance. Monday, the market came in very nicely, deeply, right? Then Tuesday, it came in. First of all, it swept the previous daily low, but it consolidated overall. And then on Wednesday, early in the morning, for me, we had the news, and that is when the market went, right? That is when the market went. And probably like on Wednesday, I was telling you, because I was doing analysis on Wednesday, the market was already too high. And then I pointed out this imbalance, but I do believe it already got tapped, which it did. There it is, it got tapped, but during Asia once again. And then pretty much reached the target. So if you wanted to trade this pair, it should have been somewhere from here or somewhere from here, which again, the hours on the JPY pairs, they don't really resonate with me. So this is why I'm not really looking to trade JPYs. And I'm only going to be looking to trade JPYs when the USDs are potentially choppy and when, like, for example, then the money moves into the yens, right? So currently, once again, exact same situation as I'm telling you with all the JPYs. They all have this daily push. So right now it's a matter of sentiment. It's just a matter of sentiment. Are those going to sustain from right there? Because usually if one fails, then everything is gonna fail, and we can refer to USDN. Right now we have this daily zone. We have a very strong break of structure, which is very good. We're pulling back into it. What I want to see is the 4-hourly time frame, right? And even if you want to go lower, you can even use the hourly time frame to start popping higher from this zone. Because you can see right now, it's not really doing it. It came in, reacted, but failed to continue pushing it. Right now, it's coming back very slow. On this one, we don't really have any imbalances up and any imbalances down on the 4H, which is not ideal. So what I'm personally looking for is for it to start forming them. Structure is bullish from this low to this high. Okay, this still takes one candle of pullback. So should I do this? Yep, okay, there we go. But then it shifts. Yeah, then the valid range is, oh, wow. The valid range was from this low to this high all the way down. All right. And then we just break it up right there. So yeah, this is the valid low to the valid high. Correct. All right. So yeah, this is currently the very big range from low to high. We're still bullish, but again, in order to confirm that bullishness, I need to see that momentum kicking in either on the 4-hourly or on the hourly. So again, wait. USD JPY is going to determine the fate of all the JPY pairs, so let's try to examine it. Now, what we can see right there is, again, we could try to potentially even look at those imbalances ahead of time, right? So for example, here we could potentially have one forming, but as you can see, it's getting very, very close to this overall low right there. So if the market actually touches this low, then there is not going to be a bearish imbalance, which means that the market is not actually going bearish. So that is a potential first sign that we have some bullishness introduced right there. Now, very similar to the DXY, which is again a very big highlight for next week, is we have that weekly push higher that's forming this weekly imbalance right there. But as you can see on the way down, we don't really have any imbalances. Again, structure is bearish. That actually changed somewhere here. Yeah, there's the breakup. There's the breakdown. Let's see if the indicator gets it. Yes, but okay. So this one is a tricky example. I do believe the structure break, the TC should be here while it marked right there. Again, still needs a little bit of work. But again, it's bearish. However, right now, as I told you, on the short term, we could be shifting. And again, similar to the dollar, we have this weekly zone right there. So again, for next week, that is going to be the highlight. Is this going to hold? I do presume on the daily time frame, yes, on the daily time frame, it is bullish. It is bullish, and we have this daily imbalance right there that we have also on every single JPY pair that we covered. Euro yen has it, Aussie yen is already engulfing it, and NZD yen is still tapping it. All right. So USD yen is going to determine whether those JPY pairs actually go up from the daily zone or they're going to pull back a little bit lower towards this weekly zone on the USD yen. Because we saw on the other JPY pairs, we didn't really have that weekly zone, but here we do have it. So two scenarios: we either pop up from here, or we either pull back there and then pop up from there. So I am more bullish. This is the only pair that I'm a little bit more clear on the bias, right? But right now it really depends on what is going to happen from that daily zone. In terms of the 4-hourly time frame, we did reverse with an imbalance. We tapped inside and we're respecting it, pushing it lower. 4-hourly time frame, not ideal. It is bearish, right? We had a very big valid range right there from this low all the way to this high. Pulls back, breaks up, very big valid ranges. And then this is a little bit of a shit wick, taking out the low, the high. Trend change lower. So yeah, we're trading between this high and the low still really hasn't formed. So we're bearish structure, and I do like that this imbalance gets respected. So again, we could potentially trade it on the way down, but in order for me to trade it on the way down, I again need to see some more clear structure, like a lower high, lower low, break of structure, pull back, and then I could target this low. So again, I'm gonna let you know what is happening on Wednesday. Long term, I do believe USD yen is going bullish, but of course we can be bearish until that zone. So again, let's see, and let me know what you also think. Here we are with the GBPs, starting with GU. Well, tricky because the monthly time frame is not doing much so far. Again, we do have this monthly imbalance right there that we could reach for, but it does feel like the market already made a pullback and it wants to pop higher. And if it starts popping higher right now, I won't really look for this imbalance to be filled. Like again, across all the pairs, we don't really see that filling. If the DXY doesn't shift bullish and it doesn't go to fill the DXY's monthly imbalance. Now, going on to the weekly time frame, you can even see the weekly time frame for the last 4 weeks is choppy. So what do you expect on the daily? Nothing to work with on the weekly. Daily time frame, No, like nothing really. The only kind of thing we had here is the market actually shifting bearish. Does the indicator get that? Oh, okay, good. So shifting bearish and potentially, yeah, bearish bias. We have this imbalance, but then the market kind of reacts from it, but actually started closing above it, which gave us a little bit of a bullish sign. But on the daily right now, absolutely nothing to work with, which is again just a signal that maybe you don't want to trade this pair, because when the daily is looking good, that is when the market flows. What I really do like about Ju and why I actually took a couple of very good paper trades. The first one was on Monday long, and then no, on Tuesday I did take a loss on a paper here, and then again you can see we're just chopping around. On Monday we broke structure right there, imbalance filled, good. But again you can see we don't take out the high. The high was taken right there, then we rejected all the way down, then we pushed up and we made a new break of structure right there. Let's see, the indicator catches it, good. We made a new break of structure right there, and we did have this very tiny zone right there. So I did think, yeah, this is really not a high probability trade because it was very high in the range. So this is why I took it with very, very tiny risk, just to get executing a little bit, because I was waiting way too much. There was a long trade I took from here. It failed to push higher, then it pulled back. We had PPI, and then it actually came in to just took out the target, and then it rejected down right there. So again, even you can see on the 40 time frame, we have no clues. We have no signs. Overall, it's just ranging. It doesn't really do anything. So next week, starting from Tuesday, we're starting to get GBP news. We're starting to get USD news. So once again, guys, I don't want to throw a forecast right there to tell you what is going to happen, because I honestly don't know. I don't know where we're going from here. There is nothing to actually guide me to a potential bias. So I'm personally going to be waiting. The trade that I took was this. Right there, stop loss below, target was the Asian high, and to really see what is going to happen, reacted, and then it hit stop loss. Low risk, perfectly fine. Right, then we have this move up during New York, but really no entries because the trend change came a little bit late. There it is. And then yeah, then we started reversing lower, so nothing really clear. So again, to recap, waiting for those news, waiting for that clear momentum, and then we're going to be trading. GBP JPY, being a JPY pair, once again the money was flowing into the yens last week, and you can see very nice weekly candle. It does have a bullish body, but it does look also like an indecision. Why? Well, because we're tapping inside this weekly imbalance, which was a very good target. We had a drawn right there to potentially for the market to reach into it. But then again, if you remember in the previous outlook, we said, sorry, if we're first going to make a move lower and then target the imbalance, but if we're first going to make a move higher, then to go short, right? So those are the scenarios, because we don't know how the week is going to open. And as you can see on the daily, there is Monday, we did not open bullish. We opened bearish, which immediately, again, told me that we could be pulling back inside this daily zone and then to potentially reach for that weekly zone. So again, you can see on Monday slow, Tuesday again came in. That is when actually the momentum started kicking in. And then on Wednesday, it was very fast. Just whoop, flew away, tapping inside that weekly zone. Now, again, similar to the rest of the JPY pairs, we are having this daily imbalance right there. That, for example, on Aussie JPY, it's already being engulfed, right? But on EJ and on NJ, it's not yet. USD JPY has a weekly zone below that, and GBP JPY also has a weekly zone below that. So again, guys, it's all about the sentiment here. Who is going to prevail? We're tapping inside the weekly one, but as we tap inside the weekly one, we have a bullish one. So again, I see a lot of scenarios once again on this one. That could be a potential scenario, right, where we pull back into the weekly zone and then continue going higher. But of course, as I said, on the rest of the pairs, if we actually start respecting this one and start popping higher, then of course I will be looking to take a long trade on this one. So again, I am more long biased than I'm short biased on the yens, but the only question is, where are they actually going to react from? And we have those two areas, preferably the weekly, because the weekly is a higher probability area, right? But if you start seeing that the daily is being tapped, and now you go on the 40 time frame, and the 40 time frame starts to trend higher, then of course don't wait for that. Just start flowing with it. Currently, 40 time frame is quite choppy, and I think it's still bullish. Let's check the indicator. Yes, it is. There is no valid range right there. There's no structure break. So there is the last break, this low to this high. So the 40 time frame is still bullish in terms of structure. it's pulling back into a daily zone. So my only long setup from here will be if we start having some nice bullish hourly structure. Even though it's internal, I want to see imbalances, I want to see strength, and I want to see intraday development within the Asian range. All right. So those are my scenarios on GJ. Overall bullish, but again, the question is, are we going from this daily zone, or are we gonna shift short-term bearish to pull back inside the weekly and then maybe from there go bullish? Let's see. Let's have a look at gold. So again, gold, we could say it's very linked to the US dollar because pretty much, yeah, it's gold against the US dollar. So if the US dollar is choppy, very likely gold is also going to be choppy, but that is not always the case because gold is like not really a safe haven, but a lot of money tends to flow into gold. So it tends to move a little bit different. But again, that's more the fundamental aspect of it. Still, price action, according to me, is bullish. We had this weekly break, higher high, higher low. We pull back towards this imbalance that perfectly the market is holding, pushing away from it. And we formed this very little tiny one that kind of the market first engulfed it, formed the wick, and right now it's kind of coming back above it. So I do have a more, of course, bullish outlook on gold. But of course, the question is, do we really have a setup to go bullish? Now, in terms of the daily time frame, it's still even bullish in terms of structure. But again, if I take from this low to this high, right, that formed on the 23rd of December, right now we're missing out on all of this price action. That, yes, it's like from this low to this high, but I tend to right now look a lot into even into the more recent price action. Because, for example, here we had this kind of push lower, bullish imbalances, getting disrespected, creating bearish one, pulls back, and then you get your short, right? And then, of course, right now on the daily time frame, we had this pop down on Monday, 3 days of a chop, and then a very nice pop on Friday. That Friday candle, it is introducing some bullishness. So let's try to examine it on the hourly. By the way, on the daily, we have absolutely nothing to work with. Last week, I do believe I marked out this imbalance. And of course, with a hourly target, it was this guy. Again, it took so much time. Like, you came in right there, tries, came in again, tries. Then news on Thursday, CPI comes in once again. And then it finally reached the target. So if you maybe took a couple of shorts right there as scalps, that will be good. But overall, no clear kind of, not dedication, but like not a clear follow through. Just tap and go and like dedicate to the downside, commit to the downside, right? Right now we're having a hourly break of structure. Let's see if the indicator is gonna, okay, it's flawless. Very good. Even it got this tricky situation right there. Good. So right now we're bullish structure, and as you can see, we're having a very nice pop up to the upside, and we do have a couple of imbalanced area right there. The first one is actually this one. Gold tends to form very tiny little imbalances, and of course our target will be here. Now again, it really depends on the DXY and what the DXY is going to do. I am definitely more bullish on gold. Now, of course, I do see it going potentially higher from some of these areas. It could pull back a little bit deeper. It could stop right there. So I'm gonna say for now bullish bias, but once again, in order for this to be bullish, DXY has to go bearish. And on the DXY, of course, we have that little bit of a bullish sentiment being introduced. So again, watch those two carefully, and then of course act accordingly. For now, I'm gonna say on the hourly time frame, and I usually want to see like a clear daily bias as well in order to base a trade. But right now we're starting to see those first signs of a reversal after we took out this low. Instead of continuing lower, we just started shifting bullish. So for now, short-term bullishness, but I do want to see the daily also start impulsing a little bit more. So then I can definitely say higher time frames are bullish, and then of course the lower time frames are always going to be easy. Let's have a look at the indices starting from US 30. They are still a little bit tricky. So for example, US 30 has taken the all-time high, and right now it's trading above it. The monthly time frame is still kind of waking up. Of course, we don't really have any clear moves. We have this very big monthly imbalance, but I don't think we're going to be trading into it like if we don't really reverse bearish, because it's very far away from current price action. We of course see one more is forming right now, so maybe January is going to chop just for February to tap into it and then go higher. This is once again looking at it in advance, right? Then of course we have this weekly zone that I personally think it's a very high probability zone for potentially for the market to react on US 30, because we have 3 weeks of a chop. Right there, we didn't really come into it, but then if we don't come into it, then I would like also to see the daily time frame to maybe start impulsing away. On the daily time frame, it's a complete chop, right? So I am actually going to stop here on US 30. I am looking for either two things. If the market is going to go bullish, I want to see the daily expand higher, so then I get clear structure, or I want to see the market trade into that weekly zone, and then from there start aligning bullish back on the daily and on the hourly. Because I could go on the hourly time frame, and believe me, there were some setups. There were some setups on the indices, like for example, this long, right there, beautiful long on Tuesday. But yeah, pretty much that's it. On Monday, I don't really think there was anything on Monday. I did take a couple of wins on paper trading on Nasdaq. I'm gonna try to find them, but then again, it got all choppy. So again, you don't want to be trading this. So on the daily time frame, either want to see expansion higher or want to see the market start trading towards that weekly zone. And if we actually see the daily and even the hourly time frame give us bearish signs, I could potentially then say I'm gonna trade it bearish until this weekly zone. So again, let's see, let's be patient. The US 30 is actually the most unclear index right now, so let's have a look at the others. Nasdaq, you can see we have a beautiful bullish candle. Like, this is pretty much the biggest move that we had this week, as we had a look at all the pairs. You can see Nasdaq, and I do believe SPX, they both had SPX actually reaching the target. Nasdaq still hasn't, which is very tricky, because here we are trading in terms of the weekly time frame. So we have this weekly push. That is the weekly imbalance that was left right there. Of course, we have a monthly below it, but as I said, I don't really expect for the market to go that low in order to then continue going higher. Of course, it could do that, but first of all, it has to battle with this weekly one. It tapped in, and right now it's starting to react into the upside. And again, as you can see, this is very good confidence. We're coming in very sharp lower. So at that time you say, okay, we might be a little bit bearish. But then as soon as the market engulfs that first bearish imbalance, then you say, all right, we are shifting. And then of course we had this daily bullish one. It didn't tap into it, and pretty much that's it. Of course, like this move happened mostly on Monday, Tuesday continuation, Wednesday, and then of course we had 2 choppy days. So precisely at this moment, it is also very hard to say what is going to happen, right? Because we have like these 2 choppy days right there. We still have this daily time frame that is left, but if the market starts impulsing very sharply, creating bearish imbalances, then I would definitely disregard this one. Overall, it's right now actually pretty far away. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to come all the way down there and then to start popping higher. We're either just gonna open and pop higher, or we're either gonna start shifting bearish. So again, let's see. Now again, in terms of the 40 time frame, this right there was a very good trade. Right, I do believe I actually said it on Wednesday, so I'm not gonna go through it again. Then on the next day, I was really looking to go long from this zone right there, but the market just popped above it, and then it actually offered a long right there, but I wasn't really prepared for that on Wednesday. Very nice pop higher, and then of course we had the CPI. That is right now destroying the market a little bit, because you can see like we had bullishness, but then right now we have bearishness. We do have a TC. Let's refer to the indicator. Yeah, we do have a TC. Why does it mark this with a TC? Not correct, okay? But we do have a TC down there, right? And it also formed with this imbalance. So I was looking to see if the market is actually going to pop lower, but no, it did not. On Friday, it pushed a little bit higher. It didn't once again take out that high, so still bearish. So I personally don't like the hourly time frame. So in order for me to make a decision on a bias, I right now need to see the hourly time frame first make a move, okay? Expand lower, good. I'm gonna target the daily. Expand higher, good. Take out that high. Then I'm going to evaluate, because if we take out this massive high, then of course we could start retracing or something like this, okay? So be mindful of that. Again, Nasdaq is also above all-time highs. So that is not a very, very, very good position to be in, because you don't really have any clear kind of drawn liquidity. You don't really have a clear long time frame bias to be a long time frame pretty much target to be going for. So be careful, all right? But right now, again, in terms of the daily and in terms of the 40 time frame, it's starting to get a little bit choppy. So I'm looking for it to start flowing again, right? This was very good longs right there. So right now, again, I'm either looking to see it push lower, then to start targeting this monthly one, or maybe to start with a little retracement and then start popping higher to go for that liquidity high. Again, I do plan to start releasing more trading view publications right there. I'm definitely going to try to do this. So let's see how that goes. Unlike Nasdaq and US 30, we haven't yet reached the all-time highs on SPX. We're coming in very, very, very close to them though, right? You can see the monthly candle already pulled back a little bit, and right now it's starting the expansion higher. And this week we actually took out the previous monthly high. And that was a pretty good trade idea once again. From this weekly imbalance, tapped in, and right now we just took out that weekly high. So again, tricky situation right now because we have to wait for new kind of setups. And then as you go on the daily time frame, similar to NASDAQ, we did have this daily zone, but this daily zone didn't get reached and we started pushing away from it, taking out the target. And right now, after we took out the target, we chopped for 2 days. So once again, just looking at this, well, I need to see more development because it's not shouting to me. It's not like, yo, this is a good long. This is a long that I want to take. No, it doesn't tell me anything. And then, of course, as I drop to the 4-hourly time frame, on CPI, it pushed lower, then it pushed higher. I didn't also take out the high right there, but first, again, it took out that high. So it reached the objective on Thursday. So then on the next days, you don't really want to trade because Friday was choppy. So again, not very clear as of this moment. So I really do hope by Wednesday, as I do the flow with the markets Wednesday, it's going to be a little bit better so I can then potentially give you some more clarity. But as of right now, I am just looking for a move. I'm looking for a bias. Monday, I'm absolutely not trading because it's bank holiday. Tuesday, I could even potentially allow for Tuesday to play out. Although I do expect a lot of volatility on Tuesday because when Monday is a bank holiday, Tuesday usually opens up with a very big bang. But of course, even after the very big bang, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that is when you're going to trade with clear bias. All right. So that is pretty much SPX. All right, to recap, we are having a lot of USD, we're having a lot of GBP, and even Canadian news and even Aussie news next week. Is going to be very volatile. The DXY so far is absolutely choppy. So again, I do not have a clear bias. What I really want you to observe right now is this weekly imbalance right there on the DXY, because if we tap into it and if we start getting bullishness, then that could mean we could turn a little bit bullish. But if the market actually starts impulsing very nicely lower and creating daily imbalances and daily bearish structure, then of course we could start targeting the lows. So again, next week, it's going to be very key to actually wait for the DXY to give us a bias because it has been choppy since the beginning of the year. And then of course that makes all the USD pairs very uncertain because they're all very choppy. The JPY pairs also, you also have to refer to USD yen, because USD yen has both a daily zone to react from, but below that it has a weekly zone to react from, right? And as you can see, all the JPYs do have a daily zone to potentially go long from. However, if USD yen decides to go down to the weekly zone, then it might mean that all the JPYs are going to reverse lower. So make sure that you pay attention to this. Again, USD pairs looking for something more. Gold, it's looking a little bit more bullish, but I would like to see one more or two more daily candles to expand higher in order to confirm that bullish bias. That is when potentially I can say that I'm confirmed bullish. But so far we can potentially have a long setup. And on indices as well, on all indices, I am waiting for a move. Okay. So of course it's very hard to right now step aside and just wait like for maybe even like 3 days or maybe even another week for the market to give you clear price action. But again, this year for me, it's all about trading with quality. Right, not every single day dropping onto the 50-minute time frame and trying to trade the Asian range. Yes, it works, but long term, it just doesn't work, right? Because it's always good. Hard time frames, get them aligned, trade from a hard time frame zone, take a high probability trade, and call it a day. Less is more. Quality is always better than quantity. So this is how I'm gonna wrap it up. Let me know how you guys performed this week. What trades did you take? How do you feel about this year so far? Let me know what is your favorite pair going forward into this week, and I'm gonna talk to you on Wednesday.